Hello, my name is Matt Lee, and this story is about my great-grandfather, James Harvey Rower. James Harvey was born in 1850 to John and Nancy Rower. James's grandfather, Christian Frederick Benjamin Rower, was born in Dresden, Sachsen, Germany. He immigrated to Pennsylvania, married an American woman, Elizabeth Long, in 1807, and later moved to Franklin County, Ohio, where the Rowers were established their heritage. Numerous Ohioans are descendants from German ancestors. During the 18th, 19th, and early 20th centuries, millions of immigrants migrated to the United States of America, hoping to live the American dream. People of German heritage were among the earliest white settlers of Ohio. Many migrated from Pennsylvania during the late 1700s, much like James's grandfather during the late 1700s and early 1800s along Zane's Trace. Zane's Trace is a frontier road constructed under the direction of Colonel Ebenezer Zane through the Northwest Territory of the United States, in what is now called the state of Ohio. Many portions were based on traditional Native American trails. Constructed during 1796 and 1797, the road ran from Wheeling, Virginia, now Wheeling, West Virginia, to Maysville, Kentucky, through the portion of the Northwest Territory that eventually became the southeastern corner of the state of Ohio. It was more than 230 miles long and was interrupted by several rivers. They established communities across the state and were especially well represented in a modern-day Columbus, Hamilton, Stark, Jefferson, Allglaze, Perry, Fairfield, and Mercer counties. Christian Rower settled in Franklin, Ohio, and began farming. John, too, became a farmer, and later his son, James Harvey, was born. John, his father, began clearing land by the Allglaze River, which James would later continue to clear for farmland. John Rower was reared on a farm, and whenever an opportunity was offered him, he attended school. The time thus passed until he was 26 years of age when he married on March 9, 1847, to Nancy Chandler, a native of Franklin County, where he owned some uncleared land. There were no railroads then by which they could travel in the comfort of their home. The journey of a week or more had to be made with heavy wagons over rough roads. The young and hopeful couple reached their land, but there was no house to shelter them. The husband, however, set resolutely to work to build a small cabin and clear a small place around it. He continued to clear and bought additional land and soon had a good farm. Here, 4 children were born to the happy couple. The father passed the remainder of the days on his farm, which was the result of his own honest toil. He was a member of the Baptist Church and in politics cast his vote with the Democrats, by whom he entrusted with the office of Township Treasurer, which he held until the time of his death on June 28, 1853. James Harvey was 3 years old. James was reared on a farm and given schooling in Franklin County. When 18 years of age, he left the parental roof, determined to mold his own destiny with his own hands. For 3 years, he worked in a grist mill, grinding grain into flour. In 1871, he married Elizabeth Stuckey, both natives of Ohio of German descent. They moved back to his father's farm in Putnam County, traveling in a covered wagon. Although they lived at first in a log cabin by the river, Grandpa, James Harvey, built a frame house out on the wagon trail away from the river. It was so flat that he painstakingly built up a small hill to put the house on by dragging dirt with a team of horses from the river area to the home site. Besides farming, Grandpa, James Harvey, set up a lime kiln business to sell lime and stone to the area residents. Later, he bought a lumber yard in Calida and did a good business. He became a county commissioner and bought a house to live in Ottawa after finding the buggy trips too wearing. At one time, he exposed the fraud of a contractor who wanted to secretly give him payoff for swinging bridge contacts his way. Grandfather had other properties besides his farm, another 40-acre farm, an 80-acre farm, a farm at the east edge of Calida, a house near the railroad, and a Kirkendale house in Kalida. He also bought a 3-acre piece along Hog Creek across the road from the lumber yard and built a lovely Victorian house to live in. It had steam radiator heat, a bathroom, dumbwaiter, lavatories, and an upstairs bedroom, a Murphy fold-out bed, a finished third floor, a music room with a Chickering piano, and new Victorian-style furniture, pass-through cupboards, and dining room to kitchen, decorative friezes near ceiling. The barn he built had a fine 2-seated surrey in it with lanterns on either side and horses. The barn was twisted across the road and destroyed by a tornado in the 1940s. Grandfather also built a nice brick house on the 80-acre farm. Prosperous touches on the farm we lived at included an apple orchard with some crabapple trees onto which transparent and rainbow limbs. Other kinds of apples were watermelon with pink flesh and yellow peel, strawberry greening, and sweet apples. Also, there were pear trees and red and black cherries. He built a tall cement water tank and laid pipe to it from the well. He pumped the water by hand with gasoline engine. A spigot came out the side of the storage to run water into the tank. Also, a pipe was laid from the tank to 2 fields so that cattle could easily be watered. Most of Putnam County's residents find employment in agricultural positions. 94% of the country's acreage is under cultivation. Farmers are especially well known for growing tomatoes, wheat, and raising hogs. 5.5% of the county's population is living below the poverty level. Ottawa is the county seat of Putnam County, Ohio. Kalida was Putnam's original seat of government, but a fire destroyed the courthouse in 1866. Ottawa became a major meeting place for farmers in the surrounding countryside. The railroad through the community gave farmers access to markets across the United States. Most local businesses either provided services or products for the farmers in the surrounding countryside. In 1886, Ottawa's largest employer, Rice, Brown and Company, employed 39 people. The company produced wagon and carriage wheels. That same year, the town included 3 newspapers, 4 churches, and 2 banks. By the time James Harvey was born in 1850, there were 299 miles of railroad track in Ohio. In 1860, the state's railroad system had grown to include 2,946 miles of track, making Ohio first in the nation. The railroads became very important for Ohio city and towns. They created thousands of new jobs. Farmers and businessmen benefited by being linked with national and world markets. By the 1890s, Ohio had 8,951 miles of track. Only one half of the farm had been cleared at that time. James was determined to outdo his father and clear the rest. He soon saw wide fields of golden grain waving in the sun. He placed on the farm fine stock and good buildings, and the beautiful and comfortable home he built in 1873. James and Elizabeth had 3 children. John A. died in infancy, Frank, Alice, and Emma. Mr. Rower had given his family all of the comforts and advantages money could buy. Honesty and progression have been his watchwords, and no man is trusted or more respected than he. He is one of the Putnam County's most public-spirited citizens while looking well to his interests. He still finds time to help others, and no really deserving one goes from him without aid of some kind, either from his well-filled purse or with good advice and consolation. He is an active member of the Baptist Church, and in political life he is an active worker for the interests of the Democratic Party. He has been entrusted with the office of Township Trustee for 6 years, land appraiser in 1890, and is now the Justice of Peace. Other minor offices have also been held by him. This is taken from Putnam County's biographical information. The other excerpts came from writings from my Aunt Virginia.